I was called a freak at school, but I became a popular hunk. Hello, everyone. My name's Cal. If you see me now, you'll never think that just a year ago I was a different person. I was called a fat loser, and that's an understatement. I went through all the degrees of humiliation from popular boys and almost broke down. I was on the verge of exploding. I wanted either revenge or just to end it all at once. But then something happened in me, and I pulled me, achieved success, and conquered everyone. Now I'm not only respected, but also wanted to make friends. All those who once humiliated me now greet me like a best friend, and all this is thanks to hard work. You want to know how it all turned out? Then stay with me, watch the story, subscribe to the channel, and click like. I was born a plump child. My mother often told me how she carried me in her arms, and closer to the year, she had a back pain because of my weight. I've always been well fed. The most interesting thing is that my parents were both slim, and I took after my grandfather. He looked exactly like Santa Claus, except that he didn't have a white beard. At first, I didn't realize it was a problem. I was fine in my body because I've been in it since I was born. Over time, when I grew up and went to school, evil statements began to be made against me. At first, I tried not to take them seriously, but then the statements turned into actions. I remember going to the bathroom in the middle of class where there was a crowd of popular boys. I had no problems with weight, they were beautiful and confident. As soon as I got out of the booth, they pushed me against the wall and started hitting me in the stomach and calling me fat. They said I was the greasy stain of their class, then spat in my face and ran away. I returned to class 30 minutes later when the lesson was almost over. I didn't want to tell anyone about it so as not to bring more shame. I came home and went to the shower. I stood in front of the mirror for a long time and looked at myself. How can you call a person names just because they look like that? As if I was choosing which body to live in, I asked myself. I was hurt, scared, and sad about what's happening. The next day at school, everyone was whispering about something. It turned out that these guys took a picture of me when I was crying in the toilet and sent all of the photos to the internet. Everyone saw them, and it seemed to me that my world had collapsed. No one talked to me. Everyone was ashamed to talk to me, and they didn't want to humiliate themselves, and I was left alone. I would come to school, barely sit through my lessons, eat lunch alone, and go home alone. Every day is like torture. All I wanted was to remain unnoticed. My life has become so terrible. But the mockery didn't end there. During sports lessons, while running, the boys pushed me, tripped me, laughed loudly, harassed me in the locker room, threw my things out on the street, leaving me naked. During lunch, they didn't just pass by, they threw my food tray on the ground and shouted, "Eat!" And if I refused to eat from the floor, they would beat me up. At this moment, a crowd of spectators gathered around, and only the teacher saved me. But I still didn't tell my parents about it. I once asked my mother, "What if we left town? Or she will transfer me to another school," but my mother did not betray this value. She said that my school is the best option and is close to home. And then someone called her, and she got distracted. I continued to endure the humiliation in silence. Every day when I looked in the mirror, I started hating myself just like they all did. I didn't love my body, it betrayed me. Then I met my grandfather, and I asked him what he was doing with the extra weight. My grandfather said that he'd experienced a lot of bullying at school. I was surprised, asked how he got over it, and to which he replied that he took care of himself. It wasn't easy, difficult, and terribly hard, but I did it. I lost weight and I proved to everyone that I'm worthy of respect and admiration. I gained weight when I became old because I can't do sports. If you want to change someone's attitude towards you, start with yourself. Love yourself, he advised me. My grandfather's words inspired me. Unbeknownst to my mother, I went to a nutritionist and used the money I saved to buy a nutrition program, then signed up for the gym. I went there after school every day while being bullied by the kids. Every day I worked hard. I was sweating, tired, aching every inch of my body. I wanted to cry, give up everything, and just run away. But I knew that my pounds would run away with me. So it took 6 months. I'd lost 15 kilograms. But because of the old big clothes, no one noticed it. I was proud of myself. Then the holidays came, and I continued to study. My mother found out about the sports and agreed to pay for my gym diet, and by the end of the summer, I'd lost another 5 kilograms. My body changed. There was a six pack. I became even taller. I changed my hair, tanned a little, and changed my wardrobe. Now I was not ashamed to wear t shirts and jeans. I became a different person. In the fall, when we returned to school, I wasn't recognized. Everyone thought I was new. Even the teacher asked me if I was in the wrong class. I was greeted with a wave of applause, delight, and admiration, especially by the girls. The guys who hurt me shook my hand, and they even invited me to be among them. But I refused. I figured I didn't want to be the same empty, stupid jock they were. They have no idea about respect for others and for themselves. Otherwise, they would have never allowed bullying. I chose simpler friends, kind and sincere. And since then, my life has completely changed. My parents were proud of me. My former enemies were afraid and envious. And I just loved myself and respected myself, as my grandfather advised me. He was right. Until you start to respect yourself, you don't have to expect it from others. I just started my world with myself, and I like the way I live now. Over time, I heard a lot of similar stories. I felt each of them, because working on yourself is the most difficult, and it's true. I wish each of you not to be afraid of change, to take life into your own hands and change it as you would like. Don't give in to despair. It destroys, and we have our whole life ahead of us.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica. I'm 18 years old. I want to tell you my thick story. This is a fairly common problem. I weigh more than 90 kilograms. To be honest, it is difficult for me to talk about it now, and it is unpleasant to remember. But I still want to tell you about all this because maybe then someone will think about whether they correctly characterize their life positions. I've been fat all my life, from childhood. I was born plump and round cheeked and all. But if at the beginning it still touches the environment, the older you get, the harsher and tougher the world treats you. For girls, I believe in general, much higher requirements for external beauty than for men. This is how it's happened historically. The first time I encountered the problem that hashtag I am not like others was when I was probably not even 3 years old. I went to a dance class at the time, and I didn't understand why some of the kids avoided me until the scorn and mockery came out in the open. And it started, I won't say that every day, but for my characteristic, I got it. Every time I tried to make friends there, the guys would say something like, "Don't be friends with her, she's fat." Can you imagine? I was only 3 years old. I still remember. Children's grievances are very difficult to forget. I don't remember if I was really fat, but I stood out for sure. There were, of course, good guys, but they were more than overlaid by those who made me remember nothing good from my childhood. But despite this, I still loved to dance. Even if I was alone sometimes, but at the moment of dancing, I forgot all the problems and did not feel plump, fluttered like a butterfly. At school, of course, the bullying did not stop, but on the contrary, became even stronger. I tried not to pay attention to them and not give them special significance. Children, I can tell you, can be very cruel sometimes. Fat lady, a barrel, a cow. What you will not hear in your address at school. I have noticed that people do not like those who stand out or somehow separate from the team. If you somehow separate, then your most noticeable feature is turned into a flaw that needs to be mocked. Smart nerd, glasses bespectacled, full fat, thin worm, etc. Besides, I didn't have any friends. I tried everything to lose weight. I went to fitness halls, followed different diets, and starved myself. But all came up empty. Because everyone treats me like this. I was kind of depressed all the time. It was only when I was eating that I could cheer myself up a little. Apparently, everything would have continued like this if I hadn't had one situation happen to me. After graduation, we started preparing for graduation. How are we? Everyone was preparing, and I just watched from the sidelines. And at that moment, the prom was supposed to be held. I loved two things, dancing and eating. But when we were sharing in pairs, I came across a very thin and tall guy named Dave. The others simply didn't want to, and he had no choice but to agree. But there was a problem. There was an element in the dance where the guys have to lift the partner and spin, and Dave wouldn't have been able to lift me or even put his arms around me. But I couldn't miss it, and I gave my word that no matter what, I would lose weight by the ball. I had 2 months to do it. I started making a strict diet plan, removed all high-calorie meals from the diet, and signed up for fitness. It was supposed to work out, but it was very stressful for my body. This plan was only enough for a day. The next day, I couldn't resist eating a bun. I guess I'm not strong enough to bear it, or I didn't want it that much. Already desperate, I just decided to go to a secret meeting of anonymous fatties, thinking that maybe there I will find some comfort for myself. I had never been to such meetings before, and I was wondering what stories someone had. Basically, everyone has the same problems. Everyone told me what they had to go through because of this, so to speak, feature. And I'm not the only one. At the meeting, I met a happy, sweet girl named Heather. Got into conversation, and I found out that we have a lot of similarities. She was also very complex because of her excess weight, tried various methods of weight loss, but all in vain. But at these meetings, she realized that being overweight is not a problem. She explained that beauty can be different, and it is not necessary to be thin. We had a nice chat, and I told her my upcoming situation, to which she replied that there is a good and unusual solution to my problem. And here is graduation day. Heather helped me pack, picked up an insanely beautiful dress, and made a stunning makeup. I admit I didn't expect to look like this myself. Everyone in school froze in surprise at the sight of me. In their eyes, I saw that they were amazed at my appearance. It gave me confidence, and I wasn't as shy as I used to be. During the dance, on the advice of my new friend Heather, on the element when guys would lift their partners in their arms, I picked up Dave instead. Everyone laughed at this moment, but it was no longer a mocking laugh, but a laugh of admiration. We even received an award for this number as the most creative dance. I will never forget that night, because that's when I realized that you don't have to be thin to be beautiful, and excess weight is not a problem. The main thing is who you are on the inside, not the outside. Friends, if you liked my story, share it with others. Maybe for someone, this video will be a reason to change their thinking.